Giving everybody an intro about Abhishek, right? He is one of the top hackers on our platform. He has identified over 10 bug reports on the platform itself. And over and above that, he is a chapter lead of OWASP at Sastra University and Team Infinity as well, which is one of the top CTF team in India as well, right? So starting from bug bounty hunter to CTF team player, right? He has done it all. And not just that, he is into doing webinars as well in security, right? And in multiple universities, he has gone and been a guest speaker as well. So I can just directly hand it over to Abhishek, right? Abhishek, you can give an intro about you and then I guess directly get started.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the intro, Karan. Let me take this webinar forward. So, as we can see, one second, is my video and the screen visible for everyone?
Yeah, Abhishek, it's visible, you are audible, and the screen is also getting shared.
Sure. So, as it is mentioned, the topic of this webinar would be on the breaking down the concept of bug bounties. So, we'll be going through what is cybersecurity and why bug bounties started and what is the real use case of bug bounties and things, and we'll be breaking down everything so that everyone could understand what bug bounty is about and things as well. Okay. So to give a brief introduction about myself, I'm doing my final year engineering in Shastra University. I lead two teams. One is Team Infinity, which is a good top CDF team in India. We were placed fifth in India in the year of 2022, which can be seen through CTF time, and we are actively participating in different CTF events through the team which we have in our college, and a lot of CTFs and connected as well. And I am also leading the vast chapter of Shastra University, where we have community of people around like 300 to 400 people, where we conduct trainings and webinars and quizzes and things as well. Okay, this is about Team Infinite and NOASP, and I am specialized into web application security, and I am also into bug bounties for a couple of years, like 2 to 3 years. And in case if you have any doubts in the field of cyber security or in bug bounties, you can feel free to just drop in the chat, and I'll be replying it in the end of the session and like during the Q&A. Okay.
Correct. So
So just
what we can also do is I'll drop down Abhishek's LinkedIn, right? And you can directly reach out to them. I guess he's very active on LinkedIn as well. And you can reach out to him after the podcast or webinar as well. I guess you can
yeah,
continue.
sure. Okay, so let's go into the topic. Okay, so why are we talking about this topic? There is some technological development which has been drastically happening in this world, and during the particular period of COVID, which was around 2 to 3 years, where there was a lot of technological development, and many people started to use the technology. Okay, before the period of COVID, there wasn't many schools and colleges using the online mode of teaching and things. But after the COVID period, it was like a usual thing which is happening in every colleges, and it got used. Okay, it started happening in school for the kids, for the adults, and for everyone. Okay, so it got used to many people, and the technological development is drastic, right? So when there is a drastic development in technology, cybersecurity comes into play in every places. Okay, so there are a lot of technological development, and each technology uses different kind of applications. It is not directly coded by everyone. So in case of like making the things easier and using other services as well, so people used to integrate and use the things of different companies and different things, right? So like third party integration to include like customer relations and have a presence on different platforms. We used to use a lot of third party things, right? So bringing in all these things, it will be like arising a lot of security vulnerabilities, and that is why cyber security comes into play when there is technology. Okay. So what's the upper hand we have when we are into cyber security? In this particular society, I'll just ask you a question. Okay, most of the people are using mobile phones, right? So in case if there is a situation where you have to throw out your mobile phone, it is like a very hard thing, and you won't be doing it right. So coming out from this adoption is like impossible right now, and it is very hard to happen. So right, since this technology will be there, and cybersecurity will be there, right? So this is what the upper hand we have. And also on the field of cybersecurity, we need skillful people to do when there is like companies to test out the security of those companies. We need skillful people. Okay, so it is like the skill sets which is required are specifically need to be trained, and which is not an easy thing. Okay, so these are the things which we have like upper hand when we are into cybersecurity. And to comment about AI and things, to know about cybersecurity, cybersecurity is an evolving field. Okay, so it will be like a product would be secure yesterday, and there would have been an exploit found today, and it has become vulnerable, right? Whoever uses those products would have been vulnerable to that particular vulnerability, right? So since this particular field evolves every day, even though there is a good development in AI, we have a good hand of manual works and works for the humans here, right here. And not all the things can be automated through AI. And this is my take on AI. Okay, I have a question, I guess, on AI before this session started, and this is what my take on AI. Okay, so first of all, let's break down. Okay, what is cyber security? Okay, so what is cyber security? To answer this question, we have to break this particular word. Okay, it is cyber and security. Okay, to see what cyber is something which refers to technologies, and security is self-explanatory. We know like guarding the things from some other attacking. Okay, so it is technically you are guarding the technology. Okay, so this is what the simple definition about cybersecurity. It is too simple to understand, but there are a lot of complex things to understand inside cybersecurity. Like there are different fields inside cybersecurity. It is divided into very lot of sub branches inside it. Okay, it is related about networks. It is related about mobiles, web applications, and there are a lot of like infrastructure, and there are a lot of things. Okay, so cybersecurity definition is simple, but you have like a lot of complex things inside. And so this is what is all about cybersecurity. And we also saw about the technological integrations, like when there is a web application, when there is a mobile application, we can see a lot of things integrated. Okay, we can see a lot of food delivery apps. We can see a lot of like different purposes have different kind of products and applications, right? Each application will have different kind of integration, different kind of services which will be opted from different things, and each application is built from different kind of programming languages, and that is why cyber are like the threat or the vulnerability. So to explain about what is a bug and an vulnerability, so to explain about an bug, it is an unintended behavior which is happening in an application. Okay, so you might have built up a certain functionality, like let's say it is a button, and if you click that button, there is a pop-up of something. Let's say it will pop up your name, and this is what the particular button is meant to do. Okay, if you can manipulate that particular button, and this is what a bug knows. Okay, so there is a difference between bug and vulnerability. Okay, so all vulnerabilities can be called as bug. Okay, but when you can call a bug as an vulnerability when it has some security impact. Okay, so in terms of security impact, so the unintended behavior which is happening on the particular functionality or thing, there should be some kind of advantage to the person who has found out. Okay, so in case if you can find some sensitive information about the users, like username, email id, passwords, and like addresses, credit card numbers, debit card numbers, and these are some of the sensitive information. If you can take over it, and like so you can, if you can do all these things, it is a sensitive thing, and you can call them as vulnerabilities. Okay, this is the explanation about what is an vulnerability. Okay, so we know that bug bounty is something related to a lot of people, but we also know that there are some kind of security professional which are being hired by different companies for different testing purposes. Okay, each company would be having security teams. Security team will be having penetration testers. Okay, so basically penetration testing is like when there is a product or a service which is that particular company is providing, the penetration testers will be just going and testing out an application, the testing out the functionalities, testing out the code, see and check whether this is that particular code is vulnerable for any kind of security loopholes. Okay, so this is what the basic work of a security professional. This is what they would be doing. Also, there are multiple other things they would be also doing, like they'll be monitoring out the logs. So log is something like the events which is happening to that particular application, and there will be some people who will be analyzing about logs and things. Okay, they'll be checking around like what has been accessed, what are there would be some of the private files which would be stored on the servers, and that are not meant to be seen by other people. So if there is some kind of misconfiguration where that particular file could be accessed, these things could be found through the logs. Okay, through the logs will be having what are the files has been accessed, what is the IP address with this access into it, and these are the things with the logs will be having. Okay, so this is what the role about an professional in a company. Okay, security professional in a company. So when we have all these people and all these people doing all these things, why there is a need for bug bounty? Okay, so as we know, cybersecurity is evolving every day, right? So when there is evolving thing, bug bounty is usually about finding the loopholes on different companies' products and services. Okay, so finding the loopholes is not a very easy way. Okay, so the loophole can occur in a straight way or in a very different abstract way, and it really depends upon the users and the person who is testing out. His creativity actually involves on it. Okay, so there are two types of testing, which is like automated testing, and it is something like manual testing. Automated testing is something like whatever the things which can be automated through the computer or the system, and those things are called as automation testing. And the things which require an human interaction and the human to test it out, those are called as manual testing. Okay, so not all automated testing are considered 100% safe. Even after doing manual testing also, a particular application or a product is not called as 100% safe, because there is possibility that the product could go vulnerable the next day. Okay, so that is why they don't call any product as 100% secure. Okay, so let's come to the point of bug bounties. Okay, first of all, what is bug bounties? Okay, bug bounties are finding bugs in the applications, and and after finding a bug or a vulnerability, the thing is that when it comes to bug bounties, you are supposed to report only the vulnerabilities, not the bugs. And that is because companies are concerned about only the security vulnerabilities, not related to functionality. Okay, bug bounty is fully about finding out vulnerabilities and taking it to the respective companies. Okay, this is what bug bounty is about. When you take an valid vulnerability to a respective company for a compensation, they will be rewarding with you reward you in money, or else they'd be also giving you goodies or recognition letters, or they'll mention you in the hall of fame, and it differs upon the companies. Okay, so this is how the basic bug bounty program works. Why do we need bug bounties? Okay, so when there is bug bounty, they are trying, what the company is trying to do is they are taking out some kind of policies. Okay, the every bug bounty program has some kind of policy. We'll be saying about the policies in a live demo after this, after 10 to 15 minutes. So all these policies are meant to bring in public hackers. Okay, public ethical hackers to hack their product, and in case if they find any kind of weaknesses or any kind of vulnerabilities, they are allowed to report this to the respective company. Let's say BugBase has a bug bounty program. Okay, so I am a security researcher. Since they have a bug bounty program and a proper policy employed on this particular on their platform, I am allowed to test their products, which is listed on their policy. Okay, after finding out any kind of vulnerabilities, I am responsible to report that to the respective team. There would be a medium mentioned in the program, and you should report it through that, and the security researcher or the person who, from the other side, will be contacting you regarding the things. Okay, so this is how an bug bounty program works, and this is all about the things. Okay, so to be simple, this is what bug bounty means. Okay, so what are the skills and the things which you need to get started on bug bounty? And these are the things which many people are expecting, I guess. Yeah, right. So to answer this question, the thing is that you should, and there are a lot of misconceptions and a lot of things which misguides how bug bounty goes, and this is what make people get demotivated about cybersecurity, which I personally don't want to happen. Okay, I'll tell you some of the things which I personally noticed based on my experience, and you can also just go through it, and you can just get to know about things. Okay, So when you see about bug bounty programs, you can get rewards as money, which is usually paid in USD, and what BugBase is trying to pay in INR, I guess, and that is what they are trying to bring in, I guess. So it is like there is reward on money, and you can also will be getting goodies as well. It depends upon the company, and you will be also getting recognition letters, Hall of Fame, and things. Okay, so this is something like the money factor and the fame factor of bug bounties. Okay, this is like one of one factor of getting into bug bounties, but you should not have this as a primary thing when you are just getting started about bug bounties. Okay, that is because it actually like bug bounty, when you're trying to find out vulnerabilities in different products like it is found like created by different companies, right? Like a lot of MNC companies also have bug bounty programs, and all these companies have like highly skilled security professional. And what is an requirement to bring in an bug bounty program there? It is that vulnerabilities can arise in different ways. That is why they have bug bounty programs, okay, to bring in the creativity of different ethical hackers and things in, right? So this is what the primary focus. When you're just getting into bug bounties, just have learning as your primary focus and have the fame factor and the money factor and in the secondary thing, okay? So that is what will make you properly take into cybersecurity, and that is what is needed actually, okay? So then coming to the second misconception about bug bounties and thing, you should be very strong in the fundamentals. Okay. So sorry guys. So let's say we are testing out an mobile application or an web application. Okay. So usually web application are built with front end and back end things, and there are a lot of things happening in the back end. Same applies to the mobile applications as well, right? So take a scenario. Let's take you don't know about programming, you don't know about how an backend works, how an API works, and things. If you don't know these kind of concept, how will you understand and particular functionality which is happening in a website? Okay, let's take there is a website, there's a button, and there is a text field. If you type something around in the text field and if you click the button, let's say the message is sent, like a chat application. Okay, so what is the background thing particularly happening on the case? If you don't know development, if you don't know what is done behind process, it will be very hard to understand what is happening in the background, right? So which actually means that to be on cybersecurity, to be on bug bounty, you should know about some things which is related to programming. Like you should be in a place where you can understand any kind of logic, and you should be in a level where you should, in case of requirement, you should be able to program and script for automation and different use cases. Okay, so programming is required, and that is a must. Okay, and also be in a place where you can understand what is happening behind the wall. Okay, so when there is an front end page which you are looking upon, you should understand what can be happening in the back end when there is some kind of things which you are facing, right? When there's a chat application, you are sending a message, how that particular thing is happening. So you should know about all these things, right? And to answer about networking, computer networks, you should know the basic networking things. Okay, referring to the basic networking things like what is an IP address and how does me and the other person, like let's take you, are communicating via this particular medium called Zoom. How it is happening? Okay, so I'll give a very brief thing about networking. Okay, IP address something refers to one particular user, and it is also unique to one person. Okay, so internet is all about just communication. The place, like let's say I'm A and you are B. I'm just communicating some information to you, right? This is what the information is all about, and that is how internet has evolved. Okay, in the olden days, there was local connection to the computers. Let's take there is a big library in a particular page, and there are a lot of information there. What will the person at other part of the world would do to particularly access that information? He can't travel all over that place, right? So this is how the internet got evolved. And the primary thing is that the communication of like the transfer of information. Okay, so this is what particularly happening. Okay, so I guess you would have understand about what are the networking topics which you would have to know about networking then things. Okay, and the other misconception is that when you're doing bug bounties, you should know about yourself. Okay, so let's take brief introduction of how bug bounty works. Okay, so when you log into and like bug bounty platform, let's take BugBase. There will be a lot of programs listed. Okay, when you go into a program, there will be the policy of that particular program would have been listed, and to particularly test about the particular application, they would have listed some of their products or services. Let's take there is a web application or a mobile application. To test an web application, you should know about web application vulnerabilities. To test an mobile application, you should know about mobile application vulnerabilities. And they'll be also mentioning about the how and particular product of their particular company is built, like what are the tech stack they are using, what are the database they are using, and through all this information you should know the behind process. Okay, that is what is required. You should know what is happening in the behind. Only when you know about all these things, when you know what is happening in the behind, you can try finding out what are the anomaly cases, what are the misbehaviors which could happen in particular program. Okay, so when I just talk about the policy and things, it will be like some kind of like which you couldn't understand. We'll be doing a live demo and seeing on the uh, policy and things. Okay, you'll get to understand those things at the time. Just remember all these things. Okay, and so what we must know. Okay, so before getting started into bug bounties, just make sure you are good at fundamentals. Okay, you don't have to be more strong on like technical things, but you should be in a place where you can understand the logic behind it. So that is what is particularly required. Okay, you should know about basics about programming, you should know basics about scripting, you should know basics about what are the particular thing which you are testing about. If it's a web application, you should know about how an web application is built, how an backend for an web application works, how the API calls are done, how an user and like when it is a web application, you'll be using a browser, right? So how an browser interacts with the web server, and these are the things which you should understand before getting into bug bounties. Okay, these are the things which you must know. And there are another two things which you should know definitely, because after finding a valid vulnerability, there is an process called report writing. Okay, which is a very important process in a bug bounty program. Okay, to write a proper report, I will tell you a structure while going through the policy and things, and you can understand those things while doing things. Okay, right? So this is what is actually required to get started with bug bounties, and this is what the concept about bug bounties. Okay, so now let's go to the demo part of the thing, where I'll be going through a policy on BugBase platform. 1 second. uh, is my screen visible? I'm just opening BugBase website on my system. Yes, yeah, all right, okay. So this is BugBase. Okay, so BugBase is an bug bounty platform, right? So where what you can find right here is you can see a lot of program which has been listed out right here, and you can see this is the company name. This is BugBase. It is their program, and you can see it was launched on March 2022. You can see other label as managed, and these are the labels which actually refers to their team. Okay, when you report some kind of bugs and things to this particular program, it is particularly managed by BugBase, because this is a bug-based platform, right? So they are managing this particular platform, and you can see this reward section where it refers to bounty, right? You will be getting bounty for this particular program, and you can see you will also be receiving swaps. You will be also receiving proper recognition from that particular site. This is what actually this particular program does. Okay, you can see there is difference between two programs. You can see this is self-managed, and this is managed by bug-based team, and this is how the things differ. Okay, so self-managed is something like more often bug-based team doesn't involve on the reports. The particular company itself get involved on the reports. That is what self-managed means, and that is how things differ. Okay, so now let's go into this particular bug-based program. Okay, so you can see that when I went into this particular program, you can see bug-based right here, and you can see there are 299 totally reports submitted. You can see one asset is in scope, and you can see the reward is from $100 to $500. So this is the basic information about BugBase platform, and you can see there are a lot of information which is mentioned over here, right? So this is what something called as policy, right? We'll go into each and every part of this policy, and we'll get to understand what are these things. Okay. So before going into this particular policy, we'll come to this particular section where you can see that rules of engagement. Okay, you can see that report collaboration. Like when you're finding out an particular vulnerability, or you are trying out to find out any kind of collaboration, like there are possible cases where bug bounty hunters usually take in their friends, the people who they trust, and they hunt together. Okay, so when they hunt together, they tend to split the bounties which they receive from one particular company. This is not, collaboration is not allowed in this particular program. So okay, this is what the rules of engagement is. And then coming to the things in scope. Okay, just remember that when you are going to hunt on this particular program, you should only approach the target which is mentioned in scope. You are not allowed to test the out of scope targets, and even doing so is not an useful thing. Okay, even though if you report bug on this particular subdomains, they won't take it as a valid vulnerability because it is out of scope. Okay, so only take the domains which is mentioned on in scope. Like we can see that bugbase.in is the only in scope domain. We can see it is a web related application. We can see it is built on MERN stack. It uses AWS service and Nginx server and Next.js, right? So when you find a when you are finding vulnerabilities, right, it is actually when it refers to some kind of severity things. Okay. So let's take there is an vulnerability we found out on this particular platform. If you can view a lot of critical details, it is meant to be critical. If you can find, it actually depends upon how one particular vulnerability refers to. Okay. So based on the severity, you will be paid around. Okay. If it is low, you will not be paid. If it is medium, you will be paid $100. If it is high, it is $250. And if it is critical, it is $500. Okay. So this is how this particular program works. And to get into this particular program, you can see there is a disclosure policy. Okay, right? We can you can just go around with what is written and things. Just generally understand that when you find a valid vulnerability, you are not supposed to disclose it to the public. You are responsible to report it to the particular team or the particular company to an mentioned email address or an platform which they are in use. Okay, in this case, we are using BugBase, right? So this is how the program actually works. And you can see there's reporting guidelines, and this is how you are supposed to report a bug which you have found. You can see there is also a reward eligibility. You must be the first reporter of the vulnerability, right? You should understand this when you are doing bug bounty. So when you are doing bug bounty, there are a lot of cases where the vulnerability which you are finding might would have been found by another researcher before time. Okay, if that is the case, your report will be marked as duplicate. So that is what it is mentioned, right? You should be the first reporter of the vulnerability. Only then you will be getting paid, and you are not allowed to disclose things. And like it is like an NDA agreement between you and the company, and you should not disclose this thing to the public thing. And that is how a particular bug bounty program works. And you can see there are something called out of scope, right? So out of scope is generally like which is mentioned right here. These are the domains which doesn't come under this program. Only this particular domain comes under the program. Okay, so that is what it is mentioned. And when you are finding out vulnerabilities, these are the vulnerabilities which will not be rewarded. Okay, so like we all know that the team would be having security professional inside the company itself, right? When there is a particular vulnerability which is already found inside the team, they would be sometimes mentioning it in this particular section where you'll be not rewarded if you are finding this kind of vulnerability which is already known to them. Okay, so that is how this particular section works. And you should also read this particular section to be safe when you are testing out the particular application, and you should always comply with all these things. Okay, so this is how a particular policy of an bug bounty program looks like. And if you find a proper valid vulnerability, you will be listed in this particular hall of fame. And you can also see the change logs, what is something made, the changes made in the policy and thing. You should be always updated to these things. Okay, that is how you get updated about. And let's also see about how and reports look like. Okay, let's say I have found some kind of vulnerability on BugBase. I will go here and just click submit report. Okay, once I click submit report, you will be taken to a page where you can report things, right? So a report actually consists of a different sections. So it generally starts with what is the scope you are in. Yeah. So to see this particular scope on thing, you just refer to this, right? Bugbase.in was only the in-scope domain on this particular program, right? So after mentioning this particular domain, you should go to the vulnerable endpoint. Like we know that bugbase.in is an actually an web application. So you should mention which particular endpoint is actually vulnerable, right? So that is where you are supposed to go in and check it out. And this is an optional field right here. And mentioning it is actually helpful to an researcher. Okay. So like when you are reporting vulnerability, you should always take something in mind that you don't know who is the person who is going to review your report, right? He used to be not on like he might be a security professional, he might not be a security professional, he would be a developer or be a tester or some guy. Okay, so you should always write the report in a way that it is understood by everyone. Okay, the primary focus of an report is you should make the particular reader to understand what is the impact it is producing, right? So that is the main primary focus of one security report. And then here comes the type of the vulnerability. There are different types of vulnerabilities where you can find all these kinds of vulnerabilities when you learn web application related vulnerabilities, mobile application vulnerabilities. You can find all these kind of issues. Okay, so these are different kind of vulnerabilities. Once you find something, you will also understand what is an severity look like, and you can just go and just click on it, whatever it is, and you should give a title to the report. May see that you don't you give a clear title so that it actually helps out the researcher to understand what the particular like what the particular report is about to. Give a clear title so that the researcher doesn't mess around with your report, so that the things goes on faster. Just give a short summary about how you found it and what is the impact of this thing and what is the unintended behavior which is happening. And coming to this template, this is a pretty good template. You can just go on with the description about what you have found, and you should be writing this particular section called steps to reproduce. Make sure to write this particular section in detailed manner so that the other guy could actually understand how to reproduce this particular vulnerability. Write it down step by step, break it down as much as possible, and give the information as much as needed so that there won't be any kind of misunderstanding. This is what you should do. And also you can mention some kind of versions, like if you are testing out then this particular version of Chrome, you can mention it down. You can also mention what are the things, what are the email ID you have been using, and other kind of specifics there. And this is also an optional field. It really depends upon what vulnerability you are working on and what vulnerability you have found, and based on that you can just move on. And you can also include a subheading of mitigations. You can also show them what something you should do to avoid this kind of vulnerabilities. That section is would be much appreciated. And you can also and there is another thing called POC. This is just proof of concept. Okay, when you find a vulnerability, you should give a proper proof that you have actually found it out, right? Like you can give screenshots, you can give screen recordings and things. Okay, so this actually depends upon each users and each researcher would have different kind of way to show this out and things. And make sure that you attach some kind of proof to make this an valid report. And you should also explain the impact, what it is causing. And you should like what is the particular asset which is in stake, what is something which is happening things, right? So this is what an security impact is about, and that is how you write a program. Once you are done with it, just go and review it, how it looks like, and just go and submit the report. And this is how you do bug bounty, and this is how you analyze and program. Okay. So make sure that you see all these things before going into bug bounty. You are strong on the fundamentals and things. That is how you go on things. Okay. So I'll just, in interest of time, I'll just stop my presentation over here, and I'll just share out my some of my like short journey of how I was into bug bounty. So I just got into bug bounties 2 years back, but I was into cybersecurity from 4 years. It was from my 11th standard of schooling, where I was into CTF. CTF is something called Capture the Flag, which is like related to cybersecurity competition. Like when you compare CTF with bug bounties, CTF are the places where like you are given the application which is vulnerable. On the case of bug bounties, you don't know if the particular application is vulnerable or not. You are just blindly testing it out for some vulnerabilities. But when it comes to CTF, there is a particular vulnerability on the thing, and you can use CTFs and as a good way to practice bug bounty as well, because you would be learning a lot of different skills in CTFs. Okay, so that is how it helped me out. I started doing CTFs in my 11th standard, and after finishing my 12th, I got a good handful of time during the COVID period. I didn't have college at the time. So I used to read books, and one of my favorite book is Hacking Art of Exploitation, Web Application Hackers Handbook. And these are the books which has helped me to come into this particular domain. And these are the things which I have been using too. And I used to network with a lot of people. I have been involved with different kind of cybersecurity communities, and I also lead an OS chapter where you can get different contacts as well. So these are the things which helped in my journey, and this is how I was actually into bug bounties. And this is just pretty much about my journey, and it is a very short thing about it. And let's just jump into the Q&A section in interest of time.
Perfect, Abhishek. Really, I appreciate you giving out your time and giving this talk, right? So, for everybody who joined in, right? So, we had to keep a very basic webinar to just start off for everybody to have a brief idea of cybersecurity, bug bounty, what is CTF, and how our platform can help it, right? So, all of it was covered in the very first section. We also wanted to understand how to engage properly and what's the exact requirement for the community as well, right? So post which I'm pretty sure that the sessions that we have lined up on particular technical skill sets in cybersecurity or bug bounty would be really helpful. So what we'll also do is we'll have a poll going up on our Discord channel and on the mailers as well, to just to understand what's the majority people want it, right? I mean, do you want a webinar or a workshop that we could conduct, right? We can have,
Yeah,
we can
I
have.
didn't go too much technical on the vulnerability set. I just mentioned it and some weakness on the particular application. If there is a technical session, I can go deep onto an vulnerability, how to find it, how to approach towards it. And yeah, that would be great as well to
Correct.
conduct session
So
around it.
now it depends upon how people want to structure it. This was the very first episode of a live workshop that we have ever conducted, and that's why we just wanted to start off with very basics, right? Even to the point which
Mm.
you covered, right, from cybersecurity to bug bounty. So I guess we can now start off answering Q&A. So one question that I actually just checked out was, what are the few vulnerabilities that you can identify to get minimum bounties, right? Do you think there is such vulnerability or a checklist of vulnerability that people should try out?
Yes, there are a lot of checklists which you can follow to find out vulnerabilities. But the thing is that the crowd on bug bounties is actually rising right now. And the thing which is all mentioned on those checklists are being tested out by a lot of individuals, right? There are a lot of professionals who are doing bug bounties as full time as well. They are having a lot of automation happening, which is actually runs on every domain each and every day. And those vulnerabilities would have been already found, even though if you find it is going to be a duplicate. And it is of no use. Okay, so if you can find a technical vulnerability based on your creativity, based on your skill set, it will actually pay you off very well. So that is what is required.
Correct. One more question that is coming in is, where to learn about newer vulnerabilities, right? Generally, people can go up, check out the new CVs that are getting listed, or maybe public reports that many companies nowadays
Yes.
publish, right? But what
Yes.
are takes that you would suggest?
Yes, to be updated about new vulnerabilities and things, you can just go on with the Twitter and LinkedIn places. I usually prefer Twitter. Okay, so cybersecurity community is actually very active on Twitter side. So make sure that you follow who are like good personalities on cybersecurity. You can also go on with the speakers of DEF CON and those kind of different conferences which is happening right now. So you can follow those people. They would be sharing insights about a lot of different things. And also you can use different blogging platforms which where people used to share their write-ups. There are a lot of publication used to share their write-ups, and there are people also sharing write-ups. And you can find out different Telegram channels just redirecting things like related to these kind of write-ups as well. So you can read those write-ups to get to know about how people are finding different kind of vulnerabilities, and that is how you get updated. And you can also refer to some kind of CV databases where you can learn about CVs and different product vulnerabilities, and that is how you get updated towards this thing.
Got it. So one more question that many of people over here have asked is where to exactly start, right? Many of them would have different background in cybersecurity, but where to start for a bug bounty, right? What's the very first step that somebody could take?
Yes. So let's say when you just compare about bug bounty things, bug bounty is into different kind of products. Okay. First, find out which product you are into. Okay. So I am basically into web application assets. Okay. So find out which kind of target you are approaching towards. Okay. If it is a web application, there is a necessity that you should understand about how an web application works, how an backend looks like, how the communication happens, and these are the basic things you should understand, and then go through about some of the vulnerabilities that could arise on a web application. Once you get to know all this, you can approach actually once you get to know all these things, when you approach an particular web application, your approach would be different. Okay, you will be looking upon vulnerabilities at necessary points, and you will be looking to the proper things. Only this will happen only then when you understand how particularly the application works and how an vulnerability arises.
Correct. What I also feel is people should go about reading the policy in depth, right? If you check, there are few vulnerabilities in scope or out of scope. Everything is generally mentioned by the company in that policy, right? That
Yes.
actually gives out the very first entry barrier to finding out a vulnerability in those assets, right? And that's how somebody can start very easily start off. And I would suggest to, go first hunt on a VDP if you are very newer on a bug bounty, right? Where VDPs
Yeah.
are very uh, open to anything, right? Generally, they want to just get vulnerabilities reported, while bug bounty would have some particulars, right? You need to report such things. You should have this out of scope, etc., etc. Right? So VDP should be the first point of barrier that
Yeah,
and
when it goes with VDP, it is a pretty much easier target, like compared to an paid target. So many of the crowd doesn't focus on VDP sometimes. So when you're a beginner, VDP is a good place to start with.
correct. And many of other people are also asking that what's your methodology of starting over a target, right? How do you start? Do you have a checklist that you follow, or did you, while you were starting off, did you follow some kind of a newsletter, some kind of a Twitter handle, or some kind of documentations to just, go forward with a bug bounty exam?
Yes,
Any target.
when I particularly approach a particular domain, let's say abc.com or something. So when I go towards it, I have my automation script to usually enumerate about how that particular target works.
Mhm.
And once that automation finishes, I'll just get to know about what it is using and what is it all about. And then I'll just go through and just use all the functionality available right there. And then I'll just understand how the application will be is working. Okay, once you get to understand the product, you can just go and assume some places where these kind of vulnerabilities could arise, and you can approach those things. And that is how I approach bug bounty programs.
Is there a some best platform for learning bug bounty program? Do you think like that?
No, I actually don't suggest to check out any platform. Like bug bounty actually comes to you based on the time you spend on learning things, right? So the more you learn, the more you read, the more you learn, actually makes you a good in bug bounties. Okay. So it is mentioned that free Portugal, like Portugal is a good platform to do labs and things, and it has to understand how one particular vulnerability works. Like let's take there is an SQL injection, and you don't know about SQL injection. You just have to read about some blocks which is related to SQL and just go to some labs available over there, and you can just try it out and see if you can find some vulnerabilities. And you can also BugBase also conducts CTF regularly, I guess, and you
Yeah.
can just try it out as well.
Yeah, so in fact, we have a CTF lined up from tomorrow itself. So anybody who is interested directly can join in for that as well. So I guess CTF, participating in CTF do help in a lot, right? Just to keep your cybersecurity
Yes.
skill set up to date, I guess. Right? So that's a good plus point. Anything that you would personally would want to add? Do you have a checklist per se that you can share with the community? Many people are just asking for that.
Right now, I don't have a particular checklist in my thing to share out. But the thing is, as I mentioned, that is how I approach and program. And what I suggest is you can just learn about the vulnerabilities and just see around the things what you just see in front of your eyes, right? There are different functionalities which is available, and see how you can tamper that particular functionality. That creativity is actually needed, nothing more than that.
Got it. So what we can do is after the webinar ends, right, we can have a list of resources that we can possibly curate together, and then we can send it across to participants. I guess that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. Mm.
Talking about Apollo community, I see multiple people asking for that as well. So Apollo community is a subsection of the entire user base that we have on our platform, right? So it's very highly elite hackers that we personally do only on basis of once they are filtered out through an application or through meetings or interviews that we take in, and they get access to the private programs, right? And we have common groups, we have Slack channels for all of them as well. So those Apollo community members will get direct access to any private program that gets listed on our platform itself, right? Be it anyone from a unicorn of India to some government agencies as well that are working with us. If I just scroll up a little bit, I guess if you have any final wordings, I guess we can end it with that itself, Abhishek, and I'll
Yes,
just
sure.
move the
So in
pod.
case if you have any doubts regarding these topics, and if you want some kind of technical information, you can just reach me out towards my Instagram handle or my LinkedIn handle. I'm active over there. You can also reach me towards Twitter as well. Just if you have any doubts, you can just reach me out. That's it. And thanks BugBase for inviting me for this particular webinar.
Perfect. And thank you for coming in. I hope everybody who joined in uh, good got a good idea about how bug bounties work, what is cybersecurity, and how somebody could get started. We'll definitely conduct surveys and try to understand what exactly people want here. And we'll have more and more session lined up, right? We are starting to actively engage with all the community members that we have, be it on Discord, Slack, or newsletters via our subscriptions as well, right? So we can have that everything lined up.